Francesco Schettino, the former captain convicted over the Costa Concordia disaster, remains in Rome's Rebibbia prison while serving a 16-year sentence. But 14 years after the ship capsized off the Italian island of Giglio, one recent development has put his status back under scrutiny. Schettino became eligible to seek semi-liberty, a system that could allow him to spend part of his day outside prison. He submitted a request and then withdrew it before receiving that opportunity. That is the central update behind renewed interest in Schettino as Netflix revisits the disaster in Shipwrecked, Nightmare at Sea. The documentary, released July 10, 2026, uses survivor testimony and previously unseen footage to reconstruct the night the Costa Concordia struck rocks, capsized, and became the site of one of the most closely examined maritime disasters of the modern cruise era. For verified entertainment updates without the rumors, subscribe to Startline Entertainment. Schettino has been imprisoned since May 2017, when Italy's highest criminal court upheld his conviction and sentence. He was convicted of multiple manslaughter, causing a maritime disaster and abandoning the ship while passengers were still aboard. The final ruling ended the ordinary appeal process, and Schettino reported to Rebibbia prison in Rome. His sentence is commonly described as 16 years. The original breakdown included 10 years connected to the deaths, 5 years for causing the shipwreck, and 1 year for abandoning passengers. Contemporary accounts also referenced an additional 1-month penalty related to inaccurate information provided to maritime authorities, which is why some reports describe the total as 16 years and 1 month. The current question is not whether that conviction disappeared. It did not. The newer issue concerns how the remainder of the sentence might eventually be served. In January 2025, Schettino sought semi-liberty under the Italian prison system. Semi-liberty is not the same as having a conviction overturned, receiving a pardon, or becoming completely free. It is a supervised arrangement under which an eligible prisoner may leave the institution for approved work or reintegration activities and then return. Reporting at the time said Schettino had served enough of his sentence to apply, but in April 2025, he withdrew the application. His lawyer said Schettino had been unable to obtain a suitable work placement, which was necessary for the proposed arrangement. The lawyer indicated that another request could be considered if an appropriate opportunity became available. No reliable later report located for this package confirms that a renewed request has been approved. That means the clearest current answer is straightforward. Schettino remains incarcerated at Rebibbia. He explored a route toward spending part of his sentence outside prison, but the 2025 effort did not result in his release. To understand why that update carries such weight, the timeline returns to the evening of January 13, 2012. The Costa Concordia was sailing near Giglio Island with more than 4,000 passengers and crew members aboard. The ship moved close to the island during what was described in court proceedings and later reporting as a sail-by maneuver. It struck underwater rock, opening a major breach in the hull. Water entered the ship, electrical systems failed, and the vessel developed a severe list before eventually rolling onto its side near the island. The impact alone did not define the legal case. Investigators and prosecutors focused heavily on what happened after the collision. The information sent to authorities, the delay before a full evacuation order, and Schettino's departure from the ship while passengers and crew members were still trying to escape. Recordings of communications between Schettino and Coast Guard officer Gregorio De Falco became central to the public understanding of the disaster. De Falco repeatedly ordered Schettino to return aboard and coordinate the evacuation. The exchange came to symbolize the contrast between the emergency still unfolding on the ship and the captain's position away from it. Schettino argued that he had not simply deserted his responsibilities and maintained that responsibility for the disaster extended beyond one person. He admitted making mistakes, but repeatedly argued that failures by other individuals and systems also contributed. His defense sought to portray the event as a broader organizational breakdown, rather than the product of one captain's decisions alone. The courts nevertheless found him criminally responsible for the offenses on which the final sentence was based. An appellate court upheld the punishment in 2016, and the Court of Cassation confirmed it in May 2017. He entered prison immediately after the final ruling. The loss of life remains the essential fact behind every later discussion of Schettino's sentence. 32 people died, including passengers and crew members. Thousands of others endured a chaotic nighttime evacuation as the ship tilted farther into the water. Survivors described darkness, confusion, blocked routes, unusable lifeboats on the listing side, and uncertainty about whether they should remain in their cabins or attempt to escape. The new Netflix documentary returns attention to those experiences rather than treating the story solely as the downfall of one captain. Netflix describes the production as an immersive account built from survivor testimony and footage of the disaster. That renewed focus matters because the Costa Concordia story is sometimes reduced to a few viral details: the close pass near the island, the captain leaving the vessel, and the Coast Guard order demanding that he go back. The full record also includes the decisions of numerous crew members, the experiences of rescuers, and the lasting consequences for survivors and victims' families. Schettino's status has periodically returned to headlines because a 16-year sentence does not necessarily mean 16 uninterrupted calendar years inside the same prison conditions. Italian law provides mechanisms through which eligible prisoners may seek modified arrangements based on time served, conduct, and reintegration requirements. Eligibility to apply, however, is not the same as approval. In Schettino's case, the reported obstacle was practical as well as legal. Semi-liberty ordinarily requires a structured reason for leaving prison, commonly approved employment. His lawyer said the absence of a suitable placement led them to withdraw the request. The court therefore did not grant the limited release arrangement described in early reports. Some reports have referred to his application loosely as early release, but that phrase can be misleading. What he sought was a more limited custodial arrangement, not the erasure of the sentence, or a finding that the conviction was invalid. A person in semi-liberty remains under sentence and must comply with strict conditions. It is also important not to claim that Schettino is scheduled for release on a particular date without an authoritative current calculation. Sentence credits, custodial rules, and court decisions can affect the practical timeline. The available reporting establishes that he remains imprisoned and may be able to pursue another semi-liberty request, but it does not provide a newly confirmed final release order. The disaster also produced consequences far beyond Schettino's case. Crew's safety procedures were reviewed internationally after investigators examined the delayed evacuation and the fact that some passengers had not yet participated in a muster drill because they had boarded only hours earlier. Industry and international rules subsequently emphasized holding passenger safety drills before or shortly after departure, restricting unauthorized access to bridges, improving the placement of life jackets, and making emergency routes and equipment easier to identify. The physical ship is gone. After an enormous salvage project, the Costa Concordia was raised, removed from Giglio, and dismantled. The operation became an engineering story of its own, but its completion did not end the legal or emotional aftermath. The wreck disappeared from the shoreline. The consequences did not. Schettino has continued to argue that he carried a disproportionate share of blame. Critics of the case have likewise questioned whether broader corporate, technical, and operational failures received enough attention. Those arguments form part of the continuing public debate, but they do not change the final legal status. His conviction was affirmed by Italy's highest criminal court. The distinction between legal fact and documentary interpretation is especially important now. A documentary may present testimony, unseen footage, and competing perspectives, but it does not retry the criminal case. Viewers may emerge with new questions about ship design, company oversight, bridge culture, or the actions of additional crew members. Those questions can expand the historical understanding of the disaster without reversing a court judgment. The Startline Takeaway is that Schettino's story has entered a different stage. The question is no longer whether he will be prosecuted or whether his conviction will survive appeal. Those issues were resolved years ago. The current issue is whether the Italian justice system will eventually allow him to serve part of the remaining sentence under a supervised arrangement outside prison. His first publicly reported effort to obtain semi-liberty ended because he lacked the required work placement. That does not prevent another application, but no approved release has been confirmed in the newest reliable reporting reviewed here. What viewers should not assume is that he has already been paroled. that the 16-year sentence was reduced, or that Netflix uncovered a new judgment. None of those developments has been established. The documentary renewed public interest in the case. It did not alter the conviction. The verified summary is this. Francesco Schettino is serving his sentence at Rebibbia prison in Rome. He entered custody in May 2017 after Italy's Court of Cassation upheld his conviction for multiple manslaughter, causing the Costa Concordia shipwreck and abandoning the vessel. In 2025, he applied for semi-liberty but later withdrew the request because he did not have a suitable job placement. The next development to watch would be a renewed application, an official court decision, modifying his custody, or a confirmed release order. Until one of those occurs, Schettino remains where the final judgment placed him, in prison, serving the sentence imposed for his role in a disaster that killed 32 people.